I've had clients drop 20 plus pounds in 12 weeks by making one simple change to their eating. They stopped focusing on what not to eat and started focusing on what to eat. And today I'm going to show you exactly how this works, because it's not about restriction or willpower. It's all about giving your body the right foods so weight loss can happen naturally. So if you're interested in learning exactly what that is, make sure you keep watching. Hey everyone, it's Andres here. If you're new here, I'm a registered dietitian with over 12 years of experience, and I specialize in helping busy professionals and parents cut through a bunch of nutrition BS to find what actually works for their bodies and for their lives. Now, I get asked about anti-inflammatory diets all the time. And here's the thing. Most of what you see online about anti-inflammatory eating, it's either completely overcomplicating it or trying to sell you something very expensive. And the truth is, what people call anti-inflammatory eating is just really eating more whole foods and less processed crap. To be honest, that's it. But here's what's fascinating. When you do this the right way, something incredible happens. Your hunger naturally decreases, your energy stabilizes, and yes, weight loss often happens as a side effect. It's like your body's own built-in appetite regulation system finally starts working again. Who would think you would have that, right? But in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to build a full day of eating that helps you feel amazing. More energy, less bloating, better sleep, clearer thinking. And I'm going to do this using a testing approach, not rigid rules, and also based on a recent diet experiment that I did myself because I practice what I preach. Now here's what we're going to cover. First, I'll explain what anti-inflammatory really means and why most of the advice you see online is probably missing the point. Then I'm going to show you the exact same framework that I use with my clients, how to temporarily eliminate the most common problem foods, then strategically add back the higher quality versions based on how you feel. Finally, I'm going to walk you through a complete day of meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks based on a recent diet that I did using this method that naturally manages your hunger while giving your body everything that it needs to feel awesome. Now, here's the key difference between my approach and what you see from other influencers or people that do nutrition. I am not going to tell you that certain foods are bad or that you need to avoid entire food groups forever. We're going to find what works for your body, because here's what I've learned after working with hundreds of clients. The best diet is the one that you can actually stick to while feeling really good. Now, you might be thinking, Andres, this sounds too simple. And you're right, it is simple, but simple doesn't mean easy, and it definitely doesn't mean that it's not powerful. Some of my clients have described this approach as life-changing, not because it's complicated, but because it finally gives them a framework that makes sense. So, if you're tired of feeling like crap and you're doing a lot of things right, or if you're sick of conflicting diet advice that leaves you more confused than when you started, make sure you stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to have a clear, actionable plan that you can start implementing today. And this is not just a clickbait. I promise it's going to make your worth your time. And you can scroll through if you want to watch to the end, but you're definitely going to miss some important parts. And if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button below, because I release new videos every week with practical evidence-based nutrition advice that actually works in real life. No extreme rules, no expensive supplements, not me walking without a shirt on a grocery store telling you that everything that you touch is toxic. Just strategies that help you feel and look your best. If you're ready, let's dive in. Let's start with the big question. What does anti-inflammatory actually mean? And why is everyone getting it wrong? Here's something that might surprise you. Most of what you see online about anti-inflammatory foods, it's complete marketing BS. I know what you're thinking. That's probably not what you expected to hear from a dietitian, but hear me out for a second. The truth is, there's no magic list of foods that are going to cure your inflammation overnight. What we call anti-inflammatory eating is just really eating in a way that just your body responds better. It's more whole foods, less processed garbage. That's it. It's not sexy, it's not complicated, and you can't patent it, which is exactly why no one's talking about it this way. It doesn't sound cool enough. Think about it this way. When somebody switches to an anti-inflammatory diet, what are they actually doing? They're cutting out a bunch of ultra-processed foods, they're eating more vegetables, which you should be doing, they're choosing higher quality meats, and they're reducing the sugar intake. Of course they're going to feel better. I just proved that in my whole food diet experiment. But it's not because turmeric is some magical inflammation fighting superhero, even though you can include it. Now you might be thinking, but Andres, what about all those studies of inflammation? Yes, chronic inflammation is absolutely real, and it's linked to everything from joint pain to heart disease to difficulty losing weight. But here's what the research actually shows. The biggest driver of chronic inflammation isn't the absence of specific superfoods. Is the presence of too much processed foods, too much sugar, and not enough nutrients from whole food sources. Look, I'm not saying that certain foods don't have anti-inflammatory properties. They do. But focusing on individual foods is missing the forest for the trees. It's like trying to fix a leaky roof by putting a bucket under one drip while ignoring the other 10 holes. So if it's not about magical foods, what is it about? Well, that brings me to the framework that changed everything for my clients and honestly for myself, because I implemented this with myself. Here's where most nutrition advice gets it completely wrong. Everyone wants to give you a one-size-fits-all solution, but your body isn't the same as your neighbor's body or your coworker's body or even your spouse's body. That's why I like to use what I like to call test and assess, which is an approach that I use with my clients, and it's ridiculously simple. Let's break it into phases. Phase 1, for 2 to 3 weeks, we temporarily eliminate the most common problem foods. I'm talking about dairy, gluten, added sugars, and most processed foods. Now, before you panic and think I'm about to put you on some restrictive elimination diet forever, just hang with me for a second. This isn't about demonizing these foods. Some of you might perfectly be fine with dairy. Others might thrive on certain grains. But here's the thing, you'll never know how these foods affect you until you give your body a break from them. Doesn't that make sense though? Then let's move on to phase number 2. After 2 to 3 weeks, we strategically reintroduce those foods one at a time. Maybe we add back some high quality Greek yogurt if you were removing obviously dairy and see how you feel. Maybe we try quinoa and bring in some grains back. The key is paying attention to your energy, your digestion, your sleep, your mood. I had a client who was struggling with bloating and inflammation and she couldn't really get to what was causing it. We talked about doing this phase elimination and she started to feel so much better. Now after reintroduction, she realized that gluten was an issue. Also for me personally, if you watch any of my recent videos, you know that I'm in the middle of a diet experiment where I tested a lot of whole foods for an entire 30 days and then I'm going to transition to carnivore diet, but that's a story for a different day. But when I eliminated all those foods in this whole foods approach, the change was clear. I felt completely different, and one thing I noticed is when I reintroduced certain things, my body didn't really like that, so now I know. And then we get into phase 3. You create your personalized approach based on what you learned. Maybe you keep the Greek yogurt, but you skip the regular milk. Maybe you do great with rice, but not with wheat. Maybe you can handle a little added sugar, but not the crazy amounts in most processed foods. Which, by the way, the more cravings you have, it's usually related to the amount of sugar you're consuming. And the more sugar you consume, the more cravings you have. That's a story for a different day, and I'm going to make a video about this. But the goal here isn't to restrict forever. The goal is to figure out what makes you feel amazing, and then we build your eating around that. But here's what it gets really interesting. When people follow this approach, something incredible happens that has nothing to do with inflammation. What I'm about to tell you right now sounds too good to be true, but I've seen it happen with a lot of people that I've worked with, and also what happened to me when I did this experiment. When you eat this way, your hunger naturally decreases. Your cravings disappear. You feel more satisfied eating less food. Does that sound like a familiar thing now in this current state of weight loss drugs? It's like your body's own built-in Ozempic. Except it's free, has no side effects, and actually makes you healthier. So here's what's happening. When you eat mostly whole foods, lean proteins, vegetables, fruits, high quality carbs, you're eating more volume overall, but fewer calories. A huge salad with grilled chicken, avocado, and olive oil dressing might be 400 calories, but take up an entire plate. Small bag of chips, also 400 calories, but you could eat 3 bags and still not feel satisfied. This happens because whole foods are naturally higher in fiber and water and protein, the 3 things that trigger your body's satiety signals. Plus, when you're not constantly spiking your blood sugar with more processed foods, more sugar, your hunger hormones actually start working the way that they're supposed to. What these struggles are about, these are common stories among the clients that I work with in my coaching program when they begin with me. They used to start their days with a pastry or a bagel or a quick bite from Starbucks, followed by a poor lunch that sometimes gets skipped due to work and just being busy, and nighttime arrives and it's a party at home, if you know what I mean. Everything that gets in the way gets eaten, even the things that are hiding. You know the feeling. We fix all these issues with our clients when we rebalance their days adequately. Now you might be thinking, but Andres, I've been trying to eat healthy before and I was always hungry. And I get it. Here's the difference. Most people try to eat healthy by restricting their calories excessively, and then they choose the foods that they're supposed to be consuming. We're doing the opposite. We're choosing the right foods first and letting the calorie control happen as a result of that. So what does this actually look like in practice? Let me walk you through exactly how to build a day of eating that gives you this effect, because that's probably what you're here for. This is where we get a little bit practical. So take a pen and paper and make sure you write some notes. I'm going to show you exactly what a higher protein, feel-good day of eating looks like meal by meal, specifically that focuses on inflammation control. We're going to start with breakfast. This is exactly the breakfast I was having when I was doing Whole Foods and eliminated everything. A breakfast would be a couple of eggs with 2 to 3 egg whites to keep it lean, maybe some lean ground beef that you can mix with the eggs, tomatoes, and spinach alongside a berry smoothie. Maybe for lunch, which is a power meal, this is where we really load up on nutrients. And I want you thinking every time is lean protein, some form of color, ideally vegetables or some fruit, and a quality carb source. I personally keep it simple with chicken thighs, mixed steamed vegetables, and some rice. Maybe a little bit of a drizzle of olive oil on the vegetables, and honestly makes it taste pretty good. Here's something interesting. When my clients first start eating this way, they're often shocked by how much food they're eating. But remember, volume doesn't equal calories when you're choosing the right foods. Your stomach does not count the calories you put it in, it counts the volume. It's like a bag. Now, if you need a snack, you gotta make it count. We're looking for protein plus fiber here. This is, for example, my go-to when I was doing this, and it still is. Greek yogurt with berries, 80% dark chocolate, a little bit of coconut unsweetened, and natural peanut butter. It's delicious. Dinner is more of a satisfaction meal because this is, for most people, is when they can sit down with their families and stuff and actually enjoy eating. This is where we can get a little bit more creative. Now, the full meal is still the same. Quality protein, lots of vegetables, and satisfying carb if you want it. If you're feeling adventurous, you can try something crazy like I did. Like a serving of palm heart noodles, which are also known as palmini, tomato sauce, and make your own lean meatballs. Like the ones in the picture. Maybe you're trying to keep it simple, you can do a chicken or a salmon with sweet potatoes and another side of vegetables. If you had extra calories to spare at the end of the day, maybe fresh fruit like mandarin oranges, watermelon, or pineapple for dessert is honestly the perfect way to end the day. Did you notice what's missing from this day? Exactly, I'm not telling you to avoid anything. I'm not telling you to avoid all carbs or never eat anything fun or mention every single thing you eat. Yeah, of course, I'm not telling you go and eat cake and cookies, but this is about building a foundation of foods that make you feel really good. But here's where most people mess this up, and I want to make sure you don't make the same mistakes because I really want you guys to actually succeed with this. Mistake number 1 is going too extreme too fast. Look, if you're currently living on takeout and energy drinks, don't try to switch to perfect whole foods overnight. Your body will rebel, and you will as well, and you feel deprived, and you'll end up face first in a bag of chips or a massive burger from McDonald's by day 3. I did go all out, but my diet was pretty good to start with. It all depends on where you're starting at. Start maybe with one meal, maybe it's breakfast, get really good at that for a week, and then add lunch and build those habits gradually. The mistake number 2 is forgetting about protein. I cannot tell you how many people try to eat healthy by having a salad for lunch and no protein. I don't even know why. Then they wonder why they're starving an hour later. Every single meal needs a protein, every single one. Mistake number 3 is the fear of carbs. Guys, carbs are not the enemy here. Your body needs those carbs for energy, especially if you're working out. The key is choosing higher quality sources, sweet potatoes, some grains, rice and quinoa, fruits instead of processed options. Here's something I tell all the people I work with. This isn't about perfection. It's about progress. If you eat this way 80% of the time after going through the phases that we just talked about, you're going to feel dramatically better than if you eat this way 0% of the time. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And mistake number 4 is not planning ahead. The biggest reason people fail with this approach is they don't prepare. People don't plan to fail. They just simply fail to plan. When you're hungry and there's nothing ready, you're going to grab whatever's convenient. Spend 30 minutes on a Sunday prepping some basics. Cook a batch of proteins. Wash and chop some vegetables. Maybe cook some rice and quinoa in like a rice cooker where you just hit the button. Having these building blocks ready makes everything easier during the week. Now, before we wrap up, I want to address the elephant in the room here. I need to be real with you for a second. This approach isn't magic. You're not going to feel like a complete different person overnight. But what I can promise you is this. If you give this honest try for 2 to 3 weeks or 30 days like I did, you will notice a difference. Maybe it's sleeping better. Maybe it's not getting that 3 p.m. energy crash. Maybe it's feeling less bloated after meals. Maybe it's actually feeling more stable throughout the day. Or like me, you're having less cravings for sugar. But here's the thing. I'm not telling you that you can never have pizza again or that you need to eat this way forever. I'm giving you a tool to figure out what makes your body feel its best. Start simple, pick 3 meals from what I show you today and rotate them for a week. See how you feel. Then gradually add more variety as you get comfortable with the approach. Remember, the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to feel good in your own body. And sometimes that means eating in a way that's different from what everyone else is doing. The best diet isn't the one that works for your friend or your coworker or some influencer on Instagram. It's the one that works for you, that you can stick to, and that makes you feel like the best version of yourself. Now, if you found this helpful and you're thinking, okay, Andres, this makes sense, but I want someone to kind of help me figure out exactly what works for my body and my lifestyle, then say no more. I want to invite you to book a free strategy call with me or my team. Here's the thing. Everything I shared today is just a foundation. When I work with my clients one-on-one, we dive deeper. We look at your specific health history. We look at your labs, your schedule, your food preferences, even your stress levels and sleep patterns, because all of that stuff affects your body response to food. On this call, we'll create a personalized plan that fits your real life. Maybe you travel constantly for work. Maybe you have 3 kids and no time to meal prep. Maybe you tried everything and nothing seems to stick. We'll figure out exactly what's been holding you back and create a strategy that actually works for you. And look, this isn't a sales call unless you want it to be. I'm not going to pressure you into anything. It's a strategy session. I literally give this out for free. I'm not charging anything for it. Even if we never work together, you'll walk away with a clear plan and actionable steps that you can implement immediately. I only do a limited number of these calls each week because I personally handle them myself. So if you're interested, make sure you grab a spot while they're available, because I do coach my clients and I have a limited availability, but the link to book your call is in the description box below. It's completely free. There's no commitment. And honestly, it might be the conversation that finally helps you figure out why you haven't been feeling your best. If you're not ready for a call, but you want more content like this, make sure you hit subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I release new videos like this every week with practical, non-VS nutrition advice that actually works in the real world. Before you go though, drop a comment and let me know what's the one thing from today's video that you're going to try first. I read every single one of those comments and I love hearing about your wins. Remember, feeling pretty good in your body is not about following someone else's rules. It's about finding what works for you. And sometimes you just need someone to help you figure stuff out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.